G'day, bird nerds. God, that that intro is pretty wild. Oh, what have we got? Comment already. Let's see. Oh, Stream Elements. I thought we already had one. Look, folks, I have to be honest with you. It's been a really. Let's get that volume down. How do I do that? Looks like that. I don't know. We'll ditch the music. Can the music. Wow, it's been a difficult week in the world, hasn't it? So, I thought about doing a little segment on immigrant plants, but then I thought that's pretty bad taste, isn't it, for this time of the year and this time of the political cycle. So I thought we'd just talk about questions and problems, and I'm experiencing something that we haven't seen before in the very meagre habitat garden that I have here at my place, and that is some birds are trying to dominate the bird bath and keep other birds out, which isn't great, which is not great. Which is not great at all. So how am I going to deal with that? Well, the way we're dealing with it is by having multiple places where birds and other animals can avail themselves of some water. Happy Saturday, by the way. I hope you're going to do something in the garden. So we have a pedestal bird bath, and it's taken well over a year for many of the native birds to start using it. The sparrows, the blackbirds, the spotted doves all started using it very quickly. The magpies, the Australian magpies, were pretty quick to take it up. The male first, and then the female, adult female, sometime later. I haven't seen the juveniles coming over just yet. The crested pigeons took quite a lot longer to start using it, but now many of the crested pigeons that live around the park are coming in, and the red wattlebirds starting to use it, and I've seen an occasional noisy miner. But what I'm seeing is magpies are starting to drive other birds away, which is problematic. Even though they're not nesting close by, they still aggressively dominate the space in the park, which I think I've mentioned many times before is directly across the street from my place. And the little patch of grass out the front of our unit is pretty aggressively policed by the magpies as well. Now I can just talk about why I think that might be. I think it's to try and keep the noisy miners at bay, but I'm not sure. They tend to really get upset when the noisy miners come in. They also like to drive off the magpie larks if they're having a look around on the grass. Good morning to YouTube. Today's topic is really is really freewheeling it. It's Q&A, so I'm hoping that somebody's got some gardening horticulture questions. Um, I I was watching an English gardening show. Uh, I won't mention which one it is because I've got a pretty high regard for the guy who presents it. But boy, there were some loopy concepts about design uh, in there, and it just brought really sharply into focus how little wildlife and connecting to the animals and the birds around the garden, around an individual garden, tends to be thought of in lots of design. But they were really focused on views and linking to the altered environment nearby, but not thinking about um, pathways and access for wildlife, which seemed strange to me. So, oh, hello, Twitch. Good morning. So, hit me up with a question or a comment. Let's start with a comment. Where are you watching from this morning? Or if you're in a different part of the world, I'm in Wurundjeri country in Melbourne, in Australia. If you're in a different part of the world, let me know where. Come on, let's actually be a bit interactive today. I think many of you will have missed what I said right at the start this morning. What I was thinking about talking about was immigrant and imported plants, but I think that would be in totally bad taste this week. I did learn one thing this week. Did you know a significant portion of the green life that is sold in the US nursery industry is imported from Colombia? That was something that I uh, uh, didn't know. Oh, Stan, how are you, Stan? Stan's got a question. Hey Grant, what natives would you plant under gum trees where nothing really grows? I'm trying she oaks and wattles. Okay, well that's a good start. I would want to know a couple of things before I um, made a judgment. Now, I think you've shown me photos of your place, so I think these are um, trees that are more than 10 meters high, aren't they? So we've got a not a dense canopy, but a fairly significant canopy. If you knew which eucalypt you were planting under, that would help me out. One of the things, uh, one of the strategies that in the wild eucalypts use to stop competition in their drip zone, in their root zone, is that the leaves that they drop, while we all know about eucalyptus oil, they contain a hormone which is alleliopathic, which stops the germination and the uptake. I think it's the uptake of certain nutrients from seedlings. So it's very difficult for plants to get established under eucalypts. But there are some that are quite successful in doing that. And a lot of them are in the Rutaceae family. And I know that might not help a lot, but um, Eriostemons can be successful. Some of the Baronias can be quite successful. Um, Give me a bit more info, Stan. Like, what kind of plant are you looking for? Are you looking to get large shrubs established? Do you want some more upright trunks? Give me a bit more of an idea of what you're trying to um, trying to get going under the eucalypts. And just remind me too, how tall are those eucalypts? Because there's obviously a couple of things that are necessary. Is there enough water there? Large eucalypts take massive amounts of water out of the soil, and you're on reasonably sandy soil, I think, free draining soil there. So you'll have to let me know there. Okay, sorry, Stan, I didn't see this one. It's just come up. 15 to 20 tall blue gums and ironbarks. Okay, blue gums are one of the difficult plants to um, uh, to get something established under. Wattles are uh, a good idea. Now, I am just wondering. I don't know which wattles are indigenous to your area, but I would be thinking about the Acacia Etiophylla, the Flinders Ranges wattle, would be one that uh, I would be trying. I know that it handles that limey kind of soil. So Stan's just put some extra information in here. Don't know botanic names, need common names, just any kind of understory for birds, etc. Okay, so um, I would start with got the plants from the local plant nurses here who grow from local seed. Great. Okay, so uh, my first thought would be if you have local wattles that are that are available, grab them. Acacia Etiophylla, the Flinders Ranges wattle, would be one I would start with. It can grow up to sort of chest height, but usually um, they're usually smaller. They do like a regular prune, so you can keep them in shape, and they have a nice rounded sort of domed shape. Um, I would start with that, and then yeah, I don't know. I don't know which wattles are indigenous to Kangaroo Island, but um, Acacia brownii or Brown's wattle. There's another one, the gossamer wattle. Uh, they, I think they would all be worth a try. But I would try, if you can find them, some of the East Coast Banksias. Now, let me know. I will. I'm going to see which ones are uh, which ones are maybe in the South Australian, because I know more about Baronias that are Victoria and eastern New South Wales. Uh, Baronia heterophylla. Now, there's not really a common name for that. Oh, you should be able to find Baronia muelleri, often tagged as Sunset Serenade. That's worth a try. There's another cultivar of a species called Baronia mollis called Lawn Pride. That is worth a try. Now these are light light shrubs. They're not dense. Um, so they're not really refuge plants for smaller birds. If you need refuge plants for smaller birds, if there's local Melaleucas, give those a try. Otherwise, something like Melaleuca fuliginosa uh, could be a good one. I'll just see if I can find some South Australian Melaleucas for you. Again, I must say, my knowledge of South Australian Melaleucas is very, very slight. Oh, here's one that is common in its in the gardening trade. Melaleuca hypericifolia. Now, it's sometimes sold as robin redbreast, but that's really applied to a different West Australian. But I have seen it named as that. You will sometimes find one called Ulladulla Beacon. There's a couple of different forms out there. They're Melaleuca hyper, as in hyper, and then ericifolia, like Erica, except with a I, not an A. So Erici, folia. Look for that, or your local nurseries might give you something similar. What's the other one? Melaleuca nodosa. Now, Stan's asked, do I mean bottle brush? Well, bottle brush is usually applied to. This is where common names become a problem. Bottle brush is usually applied to callistemons, but some melaleucas get called a bottle brush. No, I don't mean the paper bark, although Melaleuca ericifolia is a paper bark, and I would generally that's probably going to be that can be a big that can turn into a tree. So I'm not recommending that, but again, highly adaptable. If this one is called hyper ericifolia, and it has a pale red bottle brush style flower, and it has a low arching spreading form, so it's a good refuge plant, but it's also a very good feed source for nectar eating birds. So that's where I would probably start. If you can get what is it? It's Melaleuca nodosa, I think, is the other one I was going to suggest to you. Let me just. That's a West Australian. No, beg your pardon. Melaleuca nesophylla. Melaleuca nesophylla. Looking, I'm going to have to see if Google will tell me a common name for it. Sorry, folks. This is live. This is live. All right. Let me have a look. Just honey myrtle, but there's a lot of Melaleucas will be called a honey myrtle. Melaleuca nesophylla, Nesophila. It's a southwest West Australian coastal plant, so it should be good in your part of the world. Now, Stan. Now, when you say it has purple flowers, do they start off as sort of a mauve and then fade to a pink as they're a bit older? And do they have a oval deep green leaf, because if they do, and with papery bark at the base, if they do, you probably already have a Melaleuca nesophila. And if it's doing well, I'd be thinking about getting a couple more. I would normally show you the examples, but you've been missing for a while, Stan. I think recently I've had to change the way I do the streams. The old program that I use has just become totally unaffordable on a monthly basis for the features that I need. So I'm trying out a different thing, but again, I have to continually upgrade and upgrade to get what I want. I'm trying to work through the best way to do it. If you'd like to help me with that, the best way you could do that would be to go to thebirdemergency.com/coffee and take out a membership, or support me on a one-off basis on the Buy Me a Coffee. As I mentioned before, I'm growing some plants that I recommend and want to use in my own plantings. And if you become an annual member, if you buy an annual membership, I will send you 2 dozen of the plants when they are of the right size to ship out, which I am anticipating to be early May. And I'll probably do that regularly, because I'm going to be keeping growing plants. Really nice team up on YouTube today. That's good. Hello, everyone on YouTube. Also nice that nobody is on Facebook. So hopefully Betty, if you hear Betty, say hello, has come over from Facebook, and then I can start to demeta-ize my life. Actually, let's take a rough straw poll. Are you generally supportive of my plan to get myself off Twitter, get all the bird emergency stuff off Twitter, and also to begin the process of getting off Meta? Or am I just overreacting? And I'll tell you why I was thinking about Meta, and I wasn't going to go the whole hog. But each time I log on, I can't find, I have to actively search for the things that I want. I don't get given the things that I really need just when I'm looking for stories or looking for information. And the Meta stuff isn't terribly social or interactive. So what I want from the social media that I'm on is, one, to promote the idea of doing more good things for birds and wildlife. And that stuff never gets shared. So people who are not already clued in don't see it. So what's the point? And they're not very social sort of platforms. And in the act of using them, you're generating. Here we go, Sam. Well, this is good. I'm glad that. Good luck with the plant growing. Stands off all Meta now, only a Blue Sky on YouTube. Yeah, now that's going to be my strategy. I'm glad you have chipped in with that, Stan. That's going to be my strategy. Blue Sky, Mastodon, give some support to Mastodon still, and YouTube, while putting a bit more effort on making sure that all of the things I do also appear on the website. And the website takes a lot of work to keep it able to be usable for desktop, tablet, mobile. I don't know how often you get frustrated when you go to a site that pretends to be optimized for mobile, but you just cannot really use it. Yeah. So Stan says, a bit like shouting into the void, but I like a challenge. I like how your YouTube is taking off. That's really encouraging, Stan. Yeah, so what I'd like to just do is settle back into um, a nice routine, which I had gotten totally out of because I had so many issues with the computer. And then because I'm now using, and maybe on my personal channel, I'll tell the story about why I'm using the crappy, back using the crappy old computer. Um, uh, but yeah, I did some donating and supporting some people who were affected by typhoons, and probably did too much charity for what was good for me, and so now I'm back to the sort of situation I was in, maybe 3 years ago. But all of the platforms now need higher specs to be able to do all the things that I used to do. Plus, they've all basically doubled their prices, which just make it a bit of a challenge. So I'm going back to a bit more rudimentary. That's why you're seeing the green screen and not some image behind me, because uh, I was all set up using OBS, but now I dropped too many frames, so it means the streaming is crappy if I use OBS. So I need to use something anyway. Anyway, you don't want to know how the sausage was made. Hit me with another plant question. I think I've given Stan some good ideas. Oh, Stan, the other thing I would do too is look for some Coreas. You should have Corea reflexa. There should be a local Corea reflexa species variety there. Maybe you'll have one of the other Coreas. Try some Coreas, and we're talking about bottle brush. If you've got any callistemons, if you can find any small callistemons, white Anzac is worth a try in that sort of limestoney soil. White Anzac is one, and it's got pale, you know, cream sort of flowers. Quite a smaller form too. Like white Anzac usually won't get much larger than your belly or your chest. Um, they, I think that would be suitable. But if you can, give the Baronias a try. Okay. Anyone else got a question? Oh, Naomi, cool. Hello, Naomi. Nice to see you. Been enjoying your bird pics as they pop up on Blue Sky. It's good to see. Naomi saying hello, Stan. Also on Blue Sky, and have mostly left Meta. Good. Okay. Yeah, I sometimes wonder. I mean, I don't want to talk too much about the whole politics stuff, but sometimes you've got to. Uh, sometimes you've just got to do do something when you really don't agree. And they, um, yeah, thanks, Stan. Um, Stan, while you're waiting for the rain to start, I would suggest start preparing planting holes now, because you'll be able to disrupt that mat of eucalyptus roots, of your blue gum roots, and sort of start turning it over, and maybe throw some, if you got some compost or something, start throwing that in, and just keep those holes friable and dig them out. My rule of thumb always for planting is um, 2 times the width of what you're putting in, and then 2 to 3 times the depth if you can manage it. Yeah. Now, Naomi question. I was wondering, the plants you recommend to Stan, are they insect attracting or more for nectar birds? Now that's a really good question. I'll pop that back up again. Pretty much all of the plants that are attractive for nectar feeding birds will attract one or more types of insect. The Baronias are attractive to insects. I haven't I haven't thought particularly of any of those for particular insects. But if there are particular insects that you are wanting to attract, Naomi, we can perhaps do a show about that. And Stan says, "Oh, good, you've got an echidna digging up. That's good, and you might have some bandicoots in the area too that are doing the turning over." Um, Naomi, we have talked about butterflies particularly before, and for those, the basic rule with butterflies is anything that has an open flower and a sort of good platform for them to land on that produces nectar, they will visit. Um, Plants that are food sources for caterpillars is a different category again. Um, but for butterflies, you can't go wrong with pretty much anything in the daisy family, Asteraceae and similar. So the native paper daisies, snow daisy, everlastings, they're all really good for butterflies. But insects is such a large category because you've got the beetles, uh, you've got moths and butterflies, obviously. A lot of the native flies are really into nectar. Um, some plants exude a sort of sweet, sticky substance from their leaves or from their stems. So it's really broad. We could probably tackle that from which insects do you want to encourage? Um, just on insects too. I I've been seeing people posting for a couple of years now about wanting to know if there's any Christmas beetles and in the area. Now, when I first arrived here, there were Christmas beetles that I would find. You know, you find them worn out on the paths or see them in the trees. I haven't seen any for years here. Um, and I don't know why that is, but I also know that where I was in Gippsland, where we used to see lots of them, they're still few and far between. So perhaps I don't know what it is in their life cycle which is being interrupted, but I'm going to guess that it's the um, pesticides that we are using everywhere. I mean, far more people are applying pesticides in their gardens than were 30 years ago. Uh, just because they're all in the trigger packs and everyone's squirting them around everywhere. That's just an anecdotal view of mine, but I'm thinking that that's probably one of the reasons. Maybe one of the other reasons is that the host plants for certain stages of their lifestyle are just disappearing. Um, I don't know. Maybe the land use, maybe the fact that large gardens are disappearing. So uh, I think it's a fair assumption that large, mature trees that perhaps they need uh, are disappearing. I don't know. Um, Naomi says she's overjoyed to see many golden ones in this year. Well, that's good. I'm glad you're getting them. We used to get the really metallic green ones, and then the sort of tan ones with the dark head. They were the two types that I used to see here in Melbourne regularly, but haven't for ages. Um, Naomi, any new bird sightings in your garden? Because I think last time or the time before uh, when we were talking, you mentioned you had a few more new bird sightings in the garden. Oh, this is good. I'm really liking that nobody is watching on Facebook. That is great. Um, I think. I think. I really do think so many people have just ditched Meta. I think that was the stupidest. To come out and say that you were going to start flooding your platform with bots to increase engagement uh, was a good thing. Uh, that's crazy, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, hey, Twitch person, say hello. I really want to know who's watching on Twitch. Um, and you regulars, Stan and Naomi, uh, I'm going to start doing the sort of a regular politics style stream with environmental politics a large part of it, but it won't be on the Bird Emergency. But I will let you guys know which channel I'm going to put it on. I'm just starting a new project with someone else in a different field, and I was going to do on my politics stream on the channel we're going to do that stuff on, but no, I'm not going. I'm probably just going to have to start a Grant rant channel or something, but I'll let you know where it is. No new birds in the garden, but I have a lot of birds visiting at the moment. The bleeding heart is really attracting them. So, Naomi, tell us what are the major customers of the bleeding heart vine that are feeding up there? And that I meant to ask you this too, because I saw a number of people in Melbourne reporting the Coel, the Australian Coel. Stan, I'll come to you in a minute. Annie, hello, Annie Kaysen. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. North Carolina in the US. So, what are we? It must be mid-afternoon, I think, in North Carolina. Greetings. Annie, tell us something about your situation. Are you actively gardening for wildlife? And if you are, what are the regular visitors? Like, is it North Carolina? Is it raccoons? There we are. Stan's saying, Annie, just so you get it, KI, Kangaroo Island, which is an island off the South Australian coast. And Annie, well, I'm glad you're in here, Annie. 6:09 on a Friday evening. Now let's see. North Carolina. North Carolina's not where Lindsey Graham is from, is it? Was North Carolina where the black Nazi lieutenant governor was from, or was that South Carolina? See, Annie, you'll be surprised that our news over here is dominated by your local shit over there. It's completely unavoidable. But that's why we like to talk about birds. Stan, I wanted to come back to you. You had a nest of blackbirds in your shed and they've just fledged. Well, that's great. It's hard not to like blackbirds if you don't have the local thrush or thrush equivalents hanging around. Do you have a quail thrush on Kangaroo Island? You would have the grey shrike thrush. I don't think you've probably got the Bassian thrush, maybe not dense enough around your place, but they would be the other options. But yeah, it's hard not to like blackbirds. I like watching the male contests for dominance. Yeah, and I also like the feisty women blackbirds, female blackbirds. Come on, let's stop anthropomorphizing. So Annie says, yes, she gardens. We have issues with raccoons. Yeah, probably in your bins, I would imagine. Give us some more info. Annie, I know you've got deer as well. So if you've got deer, I'm guessing you're on quite a large block. Um, Stan and Naomi are regulars in here. We do this every Saturday morning, our time. So it would be every Friday evening, your time, and talk about our gardens. I'm a horticulturist, just so you know. So if there are plant questions, although I would put myself in the category of very well uh, educated in Australian native plants, but I did do uh, parks and gardens management, ornamental horticulture. So I can talk a bit about your American plants, although I'm certainly no expert in all the indigenous American plants. But we can always talk about design concepts and uh, functionality in the garden, which is sort of the basis of good design. Uh, Naomi, major customers of the Bleeding Heart vine. Now, for newcomers, Naomi has a Bleeding Heart vine in the towards the back of her garden, and these are the native Australian birds. And Naomi lives in the foothills west of Sydney, so in what we kind of call escarpment country, I think, but also a uh, very successful and well-known ornamental garden region. So a lot of old, mature, established gardens in Naomi's region, mostly established with ornamental introduced trees and shrubs, but the local birds have adapted well. So Naomi's got the brown cuckoo dove, Lewin's honeyeater, which is just everywhere, satin bowerbird, that's a beauty. Are they nesting? Any evidence of nesting activity at your place, Naomi? Brown thornbill, so one of our favourite LBBs, little brown bird. The brown gerygony, which is also little brown bird. Red-browed finches, our one of our loveliest native small birds. Eastern spinebill, which is a honeyeater with a curved bill and beautiful chestnut markings. The whipbird, the eastern whipbird, which, as its name suggests, has a call like a whip crack. And you've got the lyrebird. So that's really good that the lyrebirds are thereabouts. Naomi, are your lyrebirds mimicking anything interesting? I don't know if you saw, I did see a beautiful clip on YouTube of a lyrebird that was mimicking a crying baby. So that was a beauty. Okay, let's go. I'm a bit behind on the bit behind here. Okay, Stan's giving me a geography lesson. North Carolina is interesting as it's kind of in the border of cold northeast and warm southeast. Uh, and you have the Bassian thrush, which is one of our native true thrushes in on Kangaroo Island, but not actually in King's Coat. Okay, Naomi here as well. What was here as well? I can't remember what that went to. Annie is telling us it's winter, just trim the rose garden. Now, Annie, are you growing old heritage roses, or are you on a lot of the modern hybrid teas? David Austin perfume roses. What are you into? And Naomi's saying hello. That's good. Okay, so Annie lives in a small town with a lot of growth. Well, that's something that we're all experiencing. Annie, I'm regularly reporting on what's happening just in my street. I can report, everyone, that another house was demolished. The Over the years, I've talked about the Grevillea robustas, the big silky oaks that were down my street. Well, they're both gone now, but we do have 3 units, partly built units. Now they're with absolutely nothing but weedy grass growing there. So yeah, that's part of the reason why I'm so um, vibed up about habitat gardening, Annie, because even though many of us are having access to smaller and smaller plots of land, there are things that we can do to make it easier for the wildlife in the areas, whether it be insects, whether it be birds, whether it be fish and crustaceans, arthropods, or whether it be the big mammals that we all notice, can make it easier for them to hang on. Annie, I do have a compost pile. Bleeding Heart has been difficult to grow for me. I wonder if it's just because of the winter might be just a little bit cold. Um, uh, it may be a matter, Annie, to try and get the Bleeding Heart to grow. Really picking a spot that has a good microclimate for it. I'll do a little bit more. I'll have a look at which zone, because I understand the zone system in the States, the growing zones. I'll have a look at that, and maybe next week I might have some suggestions for you on what might help you get Bleeding Heart going. Have you tried them and had them establish and then maybe die off because of frostbite? I wouldn't or frost damage. I wouldn't imagine that it would be a matter of too much sun. Possible though. Um, and he says she has many pines, oaks, plenty of squirrels. Very good. Which oaks are you growing? That would be an interesting one. What are the native oaks, the indigenous oaks in your area? Naomi says the satin bowerbirds have babies, good ones. The young ones have. So are they fully fledged now, Naomi, or not? Still begging off mum, so no, they're not fully fledged yet. Oh, Naomi's just got a wonga pigeon just arrived. That's very good. That's a good get. That's not a new sighting for you though, is it? The wonga pigeon. Wonga pigeon is the largest pigeon in Australia, Annie, and it's a beautiful sort of slate blue grey colour with white with a white underbelly with a bit of a V marking on the chest. It's a beautiful bird, nice deep calls, booming calls as well. Is one of those birds that is probably hanging on a lot better than might have been expected with the increasing development on the city fringes all over Australia, in the southeast particularly. Annie says she's north of Charlotte, east of the Appalachian Mountains, and west of the Atlantic coast, accessible within 45 hours. I hope you mean 4.5 hours, but I don't know what 45 hours means. When I see 45 in the American context, I get a bit of a chill. 45 and 47 are now my least favourite numbers. Annie says they do die back, but it could be the soil, red clay, and you've got pin oaks. Okay. Annie, have you ever done a pH test on your soil? That would be the first place I would look. And also, if you've got red clay, do you get water logging at any time of the year? Very old oaks, Carolina pines. My home was built in 1941, so probably older than that. Yeah, interesting. Let's get social. Hey, Naomi. G5 K hours, kilowatt hours. I'm not familiar as to what that. 5 hours. So is that 5 hours of sunlight? I'm not the direct sunlight you're getting. I'm not sure what. Um, Feel free to explain a little bit more what that was a reference to. Just having, I'm loving this. We got some good numbers coming in on YouTube and no one on Facebook. Loving it. Looks like the move is complete. Um, uh, Stan, if you're still here, if you haven't had to head off, uh, how many places have you got on Kangaroo Island that sell plants? There we go. Thanks, Stan, for telling me that. 5 hours drive from the coast. Okay, so 5 hours in from the coast. Okay, now I understand. Yes, I do add compost, soil, and mulch. Very, very good. Do you, Annie? Just in terms of the bleeding heart vine, do you know your soil pH? Let me see. So Clerodendron grows best in slightly acidic soil with a pH between 5.5 and 6.5. And the soil needs to be well drained. So yeah, that's the thing I would be worried about is if you're getting waterlogged at all over the year. That would be my concern. Okay, so if your pH is around 7, there is the first problem. So that's neutral, which most plants will do well in, but the bleeding heart vine needs between 5.5 and 6.5. So I'm just seeing what the trade names might be over there. Okay. So even though and water does stand in red clay soil. Okay. So here would be my 2 suggestions for you, Annie. I would build up a mound, if you can, if it's possible, that will not be waterlogged in that period of the year when it might happen. And you will need to be adding, even though you are using compost leaf litter, coffee grounds also will raise acidity. I would test regularly, and you can use like iron sulfate. I'm not sure what they'll be marketed as, a sulfur additive in the nursery or hardware store, aluminium sulfate, but it's generally iron sulfate or ferrous sulfate. It might be marketed as over there. You can mix it up in a watering can and water it on. That's what I would be trying to do. Ameliorate your mound, get that to 5.5, maybe 6, and give it a try then. And if it's free draining, if you have it on a mound that is free draining, I think that would be the best way to start if you want to get the Clerodendron, the bleeding heart vine, growing there. There we are. Horticulture advice for the US. Stan says we only have the general nursery at one of the hardware stores. So that's going to be the Mitre 10, I'm guessing, and the native plant nursery run by the Landscape Board. Okay. We also have the rare plant nursery, but they don't sell the rare plant garden, but they don't sell. Stan, do the rare plant garden. If you have a relationship with them, do they allow you to, by arrangement, get take some cuttings or something so you can actually propagate a local rare plant? Yeah, so okay, there we are. Yeah, Annie, I would definitely be raising up your raise up a mound and get a little pH test kit and regularly test. Get something that is get an area stable at between 6 and 5 pH and give it a try. Something you might, yeah. Do you have any azaleas or rhododendrons? Just checking, they're a good indicator. There we go. And Annie says, yeah, David Austin Roses, great. Okay. Annie, most azaleas will do really well in an acidic soil. Some of them as low as 4.5, but up to about 6. If you've got a spot where azaleas will do well, you can probably take a punt that the clerodendron, the bleeding heart vine, will do okay there. Yeah. Stan says he could take cuttings. That's good. We've got a couple of esteemed botanists, horticulturists living in the island. Good. Well, they're everywhere. That's good to know. That is good to know. All right. Someone hit me with another problem or question. I'm fired up now. We're going well. Gee, I thought I'd run out of things to say by about. Well, when I was talking to just myself and nobody else for the first 10 minutes, I didn't think we'd be getting far today. Now, anything else? Have I forgotten anybody? No. Naomi, I wanted to ask you about the Wonga pigeon. What is it? Okay, so Annie's got azaleas, camellias, hollies, all doing well. Yeah, I think azaleas are the main indicator for the spot. So perhaps try one or two in spots where you have the azaleas doing well. Stan's going out to water the garden as we have the first 35-degree day. 3 in a row. Yeah, we're about to get 3 stinkers, so we're getting your weather tomorrow. I think we're only getting 20. I think we're getting 28 or something today, or 30, and then it's getting hot. Just remember, Stan, lots of mulching. Cut down on that water loss. Enjoy the day over there in Kangaroo Island. I think we should do a session where we talk about our home patch bird lists. I think that should be good. Now, Stan, that's a very good suggestion. Should make Naomi and yourself mods on the channel. Yes, that's true. I am in the process of setting everything up for mods. I think Twitch would be more of a problem, and especially doing the political style ranting. I don't think many trolls are coming for gardening talkback. So that would be right. But yes, I will do that. Naomi, if you're interested in modding, I would do that. But what I would also want to perhaps get you to talk about, and we'll talk about, we might do this in a different forum. I think I've mentioned before, I want to try and grow a Discord server community. I've started that sort of set up. I just need to work out best way to promote it. So I'd kind of like people to be, if they're going to be a mod, to be across all the platforms. So let us know if you're interested in that. That was where I thought, going back to the earlier conversation about how we're sort of leaving Meta and it's no longer being social, I would like to use the strengths of Discord to build community, and it's just working out how to make that fit in. But yes, Stan, thank you for the suggestion. Very good. Naomi says the Wonga is not a lifer, but I don't see them in the garden and just took some photos. Okay, where are you going to post them, Naomi? We would like to see them. Any butterfly bushes, hydrangeas? Well, hydrangeas, yes. Now, of course, this is the thing with common names. I have no idea what a butterfly bush in North Carolina would be, but let me just consult my friend Dr. Google. It tells me that Buddleia. Okay, all right. Well, we would call the Buddleia the butterfly bush here. So Buddleia davidii is the commonest one. Excellent ornamental tree or plant. Old man feather tree. Stan, I'll get back to you in a second too. In a sec. Old man feather tree. Old man feather tree. I'm not getting a. I'm only getting references to German Christmas trees coming up there. So, but the German Christmas trees are based on a spruce. So I wonder if that is a spruce. And Stan says, let's catch up on Blue Sky. Stan, thebirdemergency.com/Blue Sky will take you to me on Blue Sky. Annie, no worries, Annie, with the thank you. Yeah, I just found Naomi on Blue Sky, I think, yesterday. It just came into my feed, so that's good. Stan says he's active on Discord, okay, too, and Reddit. Yeah, I haven't. I might start a bird emergency Reddit. I've sort of kept away from Reddit because I can get dragged down into rabbit holes. So now Stan and Naomi and anyone else, I do occasionally stream to LinkedIn, but I can only stream to my private or to my, Grant profile. I do have a bird emergency page, but I can't stream to it until it's got 250 followers. And for like bird stuff, that's like a lot. So if you would like to go to the bird emergency page on LinkedIn and follow it and share it and encourage anyone else on LinkedIn to to share it. I would love to stream on LinkedIn because it's a completely different audience, but my grant profile is not really where I want to be streaming conservation stuff, because I want to be doing production stuff there. So, all right, Annie's got a bird. Think many birds on my yard. I do have bird baths and feeding station. Old man's beard. That's more what we're talking about. Old man's beard. Now that's the familiar Tillandsia. So that's the but Tillandsia is the sort of parasite or Spanish moss. Here we are. Old man's beard again. Tillandsia. Old man's beard tree. Let's try that. So everything seems to be that the old man's beard is the Tillandsia, which grows in other host trees. Unless it's the fringe tree. Fringe tree or old man's beard. Here we go. I'm just looking for its. I've got a picture of it. It looks a bit like a dogwood. Where are we? Specifics. Chionanthus virginicus. So it's a native to Virginia. It's in the olive family. There we are. Yes, I've seen that. I've seen that over here. Or the fringe tree. It's often called. So there we are. A quote: "It looks stunning, almost ethereal when seen at peak bloom at night, illuminated by full moon." So there we are. I'm wondering what it looks like. It might be one of those plants that the insects love. I'm just saying, I'm not saying any. Here we are. Acidic soils. Okay. Very good. Very good. Well, I've learned something today. Where are we? We're going back. Okay, so Annie's doing Facebook and Insta. We're all migrating away from Facebook and Insta because of Zuckerberg. Anyone who is deliberately going to flood their platform with bots to have fake engagement can get stuffed, in my view. So yeah, keep looking for me on YouTube, and Blue Sky is where most of my social discourse is happening, and we're going to try and build out a community on Discord, and we'll see how that works out. So Annie's telling us more about the feather tree, established many years ago. Yeah, maybe it's a fringe. So certainly it's a stunning looking plant when in full flower. And yeah, it does mention that it's a perfumerous tree. So I'm guessing that the moths and the butterflies would love it. And the insects do love it. That's good. I'm glad I understand. And Annie says it's a sad time for the USA for the next 4 years. Well, by jingoes, a 30,000 bed facility on Guantanamo seems scary. But what we have to remember, and this is why I'm always reluctant to be surprised by what happens in the US. When Bill Clinton was president, there were 40,000 people, migrants who were housed on in Guantanamo. So it's not something new. It's just new in the fairly recent time. And I think everyone could and should be shocked by what is happening so quickly. But hey, Trump only said he was taking inspiration from what our bloody government did with our offshoring all the boat people, as we have been calling them. So, yeah, I think, there's plenty of derision to be handed around for every time people want to criticize Trump. Just remember that we had the Howard government continued by the Labor government and then doubled down on again with the Morrison government. We do it too. So soft and easy targets. Yeah. I really hope. I really hope it doesn't get as dark as it seems. Before I came on, and look, I did want to sort of stick to gardening as much as possible because I'll have another channel for ranting. But I mean, the tariffs come into force tomorrow, and the whole Canadian political spectrum has now unified, and they see the tariffs as a threat to their sovereignty. I would not be surprised if some pretty radical action happens, and the Europeans are talking about military confrontation. I mean, France has committed to join Denmark in armed resistance if Trump tries anything with Greenland. And these are dangerous times. And for a country like Australia that is so enmeshed in the political and defense structure, intelligence structure with the US, but we rely absolutely economically on China, we need to start thinking about disengaging. Anyway, that's not what the habitat gardening spot is for. But I think we should be, over here in Australia, we need to be thinking about how expensive things are going to get. There's going to be one hell of a trade war. And and so I might have to start getting my TikTok happening again. Interesting too. I'll just make this point. All the Americans who are going on about what a danger TikTok is, and they're going to have my personal information. Well, you lot have been harvesting all of our private information and selling it in contravention of the laws that we have in Australia for our own privacy. Meta and Twitter, and I assume YouTube do it too, but they're probably less overt about it. I certainly feel like I get less abused on YouTube than with the other platforms. But hey, that's all Meta is a personal information harvesting platform. That's all it exists for these days. So yeah, you certainly don't. I certainly feel equally threatened by using TikTok or CapCut as I do on any Meta platform, or indeed the hellscape, which is Twitter, which is basically, I think today I've downloaded all my stuff. What I did want to let you know about, there is, if you want to leave Twitter, but you don't want to lose all your connections, and you're going to Blue Sky or Mastodon, there is a mechanism from a French group where you can port everything over. Now, I'm going to do it today. I've downloaded all my information. I'm going to go through the process today, and I'm going to screen record it, and I'll show it on one of the other um, shows, so that anyone who is already a Twitter a Twitter follower or someone you follow, and they are on Mastodon or Blue Sky, you can actually find them, and I think this helps bring all your content over from Twitter as well. So, um, yeah, we'll look at that. Um, ah, Murray, how are you, Murray? Good to see you. Yeah, Meta, Twitter, Amazon, all bad. Yeah, I've taken to just buying on eBay rather than anything on Amazon if I can organise that. Um, uh, but pretty much anywhere you're online, they've already harvested all of your information. What was I looking at the other day? Oh, what's it called? DeepSeek, the AI. I had a look and I checked out uh, I had a look at oh, here we are. Naomi, I missed this. Sorry. It ran past so quickly. Just because people have behaved badly doesn't mean we shouldn't take offence and fight it whenever we see it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, I, I was just really being, wanting to be mindful of, we shouldn't be taking any kind of holier than thou um, view here. We can rightly discuss the dangers of the what are they calling him now? The mango moron. I saw that there was a bakery somewhere in, I think it was in France, selling mango moron macarons or something. I think mango moron cakes. Um, I'm sure that'll catch on worldwide. Um, but yeah, we certainly have had very cruel policies that indeed the majority of Australians tend to support, which I find staggering. A country built on immigration being upset about immigrants, all of the problems that come with increased immigration are the issues we should be dealing with. That's happening in the UK, it's happening in Europe, the same kind of arguments are happening, and it's expensive to invest in the services that are required. Anyway, that'll be for a different stream. Anyone got another plant question, gardening question, or share some bird knowledge? The magpie larks have been around my place for the last few days, so I'm happy about that. I hope they nest nearby. The tree that they nested in a few years ago has now been removed, so I'm just hoping that they will come back, come back soon, come back quickly. Has everybody made the move off Twitter? Like, I'm not getting any. There are still a few people I like to follow on Twitter, but they don't seem to be making the move to Blue Sky. So I think I'll just be cutting them loose. I don't think I'll actually end my account. I think I'll delete everything on it and just have a pinned tweet saying what my Blue Sky is or what the website is. Well done, Annie. If you've never had a Twitter or X, a good move. Okay, let me just see where is everyone from. Still everyone on YouTube. That's my plan. Good. I'm glad to see that. I would love to build out the Bird Emergency page on LinkedIn so that if I'm not streaming to Facebook, I could stream to LinkedIn, to the Bird Emergency on LinkedIn as well, because I can stream, I think, to 4 places using this. I can't stream to Blue Sky yet, and I don't have enough people on TikTok who follow me yet to be handed the keys to the streaming office on TikTok. I'd love to get on. I'd love to stream live on TikTok because that's where the youth are, and if we can get to the youth, as we all know, the children are our future. Naomi had X for 2 days and then left when Elon bought it. Well, it's just look, it's been really valuable. Twitter was where I grew. I grew up to 3,500 or something there, and it was a really valuable, useful tool. But I'm talking quite a few years ago. Mastodon just never took off. I wish it kind of did, but it didn't. Blue Sky is good. Annie says she doesn't do TikTok, but will join you there. The thing that would be great would be where are we? Yeah, no, I think I will think about where a bit more where to concentrate. I think Discord's going to be a bit difficult, and if you're still here, Stan, I will probably do this on Blue Sky. I'm a little bit concerned that there will be so many of the elders in the sort of bird emergency, bird conservation space who will find Discord just a little bit difficult. But it's such a good platform for, you can have voice conversations, you can have video conversations, you can use it. My plan is to use to do like a call-in show where we do the call-in on Discord. Trialing that on another thing, but anyway, we can all talk about that later. Where are we? So it's about time to wrap up. Last call for interesting bird sightings. Annie, what are the birds that you see in your garden? I'm hoping you're a bird nerd. That's how all this kind of started. We're all bird nerds or plant nerds or nature nuts. What are the birds that you are seeing in your garden? What birds stay there all year round, and what birds come in the summer? Okay. Now Murray's saying Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, and LinkedIn. Murray, I'm going to be decreasing my presence on Instagram, unless I'm going to try a few things and see if the engagement picks up. If the engagement doesn't pick up, I'm not going to waste time. I mean, it takes time to produce little videos and clips and things for Instagram. Threads, I have the same feeling. It's if Blue Sky is vibrant, and Meta is saying we're going to put bots on our platforms so that you will not immediately know if the person or the thing that you are interacting with is a genuine person. And the danger with that approach is that that's how astroturfing groups build up credibility that they then use in the wider media. If they are using bots to promote engagement, and then that fake engagement gives them credibility so that they get platformed on wider sources of media, then that's really bad. So, yeah, I know I'm really torn. I don't want to be part of any of that bloody crap. But if the people that you want to reach are still there, that's an issue. So I think the really important thing is to just push a platform like Blue Sky, that even if a billionaire bought it, Blue Sky can be replicated immediately by someone else. So that's good. So Naomi's got cardinals. Have you got the all red cardinal or the partially red cardinal? Finches, I'm guessing you're talking about a house finch, nuthatch. You've probably got the American goldfinch too at your place, I would guess. Red robin, so that's the American robin. The blue robin, the blue jay, doves. I wonder what doves you've got. Woodpeckers. Wonder what woodpeckers you've got there. Hawks, owls. Well, you've got a really good variety of birds. If you've got owls and other raptors, woodpeckers, finches, seed eaters, robins, that's a very healthy environment, I would say. Very good. I hope you've got a pair of binoculars and you're going to start learning all of the different woodpeckers, and probably got a couple of nuthatches there. I only know of 2 varieties of cardinal. There's probably more, but I only know of 2. Bunch of finches. Yeah, that's very, very cool. So you've got the male all red. Now I think that's a northern cardinal. You've probably got orioles and buntings and juncos and a whole pile of cool birds, because you're on a migration corridor as well. So that'd be very, very good place to go bird watching, I believe. Murray's got his red wattlebirds and the feral birds, starlings, Indian myna. Yeah, I think we have to start calling the Indian myna the common myna. I think, Murray. Are the red wattlebirds dominating your space, Murray? Annie says, yeah, migration is wonderful. Annie, is the issue of bird strike in Windows getting much coverage over there? I know it's something we've talked about a lot on the Bird Emergency. Oh, Annie, you might not know, the Bird Emergency started as a podcast, but it's now pretty much on YouTube. So you've got access on the YouTube channel to all of the previous interviews. So there's a number we've done on bird strike and migration. I mean, in that corridor, the US corridor, north-south corridor, 1 billion birds a year die flying into windows. So you might find the conversations with Heidi Trudell interesting. Oh, here we are. Odin Howard. Hello, Odin Howard. Haven't seen Odin Howard here before. Nice to see you. Lots of musk lorikeets here at the moment in Wonthaggi. Now, so you're in the same region as Ms. Deb, one of our favourite bird photo takers. Now, I don't know whether I should say Odin or whether I should say Howard. I'll just go with Odin Howard. But if you would prefer me to address you in a different way, just let us know. Yeah, we've got heaps of musk lorikeets here too in Melbourne, and I'm in the northwestern part of Melbourne. There have been big groups of musk lorikeets with the rainbow lorikeets, and I've seen quite a few little lorikeets just around my place, but definitely more muskies this year than I noticed in the previous couple of years. I'm hoping that the purple-crowned lorikeets start to turn up. Annie, good. Annie's talking about the lights out for migration in the cities. Yeah, that's an issue we've discussed as well. So that's good. That it sounds like there is a sort of local movement. Maybe the local councils are working to encourage people to turn their lights out at night. That's good. It's an issue that is sort of under the radar here, but we don't have the same type of migration here. So our bird strikes with windows are a issue that I personally think is more significant than the lights out for migration, unless you are on the coast where seabirds are migrating and coming in as part of their regular breeding migration. That's a different issue, but that's certainly an issue for rural regions in Australia, but obviously it is for anywhere where birds are migrating regularly, such as North Carolina, the bird-loving state. Odin Howard, I'd be interested to know what your garden is like. Have you got a big block? Are you out on a property? Are you in Wonthaggi? You're going to be close to the coast, but is your place right on the coast? Are you sort of on the fringe of town? Are you in town? Wonthaggi is really interesting place because it's kind of an integrated habitat of different types of habitat down there in South Gippsland. So, yeah, really, really, really interesting part of the world. Murray, what have you been up to? How was your Christmas break and everything? Did you go anywhere? Did you do anything? I can confirm I went pretty much nowhere and did pretty much nothing except dick around trying to get the computer and streaming working. As you will have noticed, so many weeks where I was showing up and nothing was happening. So anyway, this is it. Odin Howard. You'll have to tell me, am I calling you a Odin or Howard or Odin Howard? Excellent. I already love this person, a huge bird nerd and a horticulturist. Okay, that's good. I think they go hand in hand. Would love to know more about what you do, what your main interests are. If you have been a podcast listener, I am tossing up whether to discontinue the podcast and only do the YouTube. Just because it takes so much time to do good editing and promote on YouTube, and the growth on the podcast just has not really been happening. But I think I might move it to a different service. I mean, this is all how the sausage was made, but I was using one service because I was getting really good stats and everything, but now the listenership for the podcast is so minor. Probably my fault because I haven't been putting out, a weekly show on the podcast. But I got to think about it because the workflow now means the podcast is, well, I don't know. People can tell me. Yeah, people can tell me. I really am unsure. But I'm always interested to know more about anyone who's a bird nerd and a horticulturist and the kind of work they're doing. I, yeah, yeah. We haven't had a check-in from the Mount Annan Botanical Garden this morning. I wonder how the weather is over there. Naomi, tell me, what was the severe weather like in your part of Sydney? And do you know whether Wollongong and other areas were affected? Odin Howard. A quarter-acre block on the edge of town, about a kilometre from the coast, have a few large native trees in the yard, including a large gum with a few dead limbs, a very important bird tree. Do you know which? Is it an old manor gum there, or is it? Thank you, Odin. That's good. See, the reason I was umming and ahhing about Odin was I wondered whether you had adapted a Viking name or something for some other purpose on YouTube. So, but that's good. Odin's good. We'll go with that. It's just much easier. I can be conversational rather than using the kind of names everyone uses on Twitch and whatnot. Although we've got to get used to it because we're going to be doing more Twitch. So quarter-acre block, so a standard housing block on the edge of town, a kilometre from the coast. So is your garden challenged by those westerlies, or do you get hit with the easterlies and southeasterlies? I know when I was in Gippsland, the most challenging weather we used to get was when the east coast lows set in and could cause a lot of damage, but also we would get waterlogged because it might rain for 6 days, heavy rain for 6 days, and even the sandy soils would be waterlogged and water would be lying around for a long time. So a couple of challenges there. The interesting thing with Wonthaggi too is there are parts of it that have like a heavy soil and parts of it are very sandy soils. So interested to know what your big eucalypt is. I was much further east than where you are, Odin, up on the 90 Mile Beach. But it was Eucalyptus obliqua and the manor gums that were the predominant indigenous gums, but there were so many that did well. Naomi's just mentioned some of the others gums that would do well. We'll just pop this in. Hot weather was very bad here. The wind broke a few limbs of the Angophora. I encourage everyone I know in Wollongong and Southern Highlands to put water out for the birds. It was very quiet birding. Yeah, when I saw the extended temperatures in the western suburbs, I was wondering how many little brown birds have just dropped dead. So I hope people were putting sprinklers on and leaving a lot of water out in several places in gardens. Hopefully that is, just hopefully it hasn't been absolute carnage for the little brown birds. I mean, I'm sure you're all converts to the whole issue of what's going to be happening with climate change, but this is exactly what to expect. We're going to get hotter periods, for longer periods, for more extended periods. And then we're going to have these crazy winds that we are not used to, and that the local flora, the trees, will be hit by strong winds from directions that they are not accustomed to, because trees grow strong in places to resist prevailing winds. And then when when a really heavy wind comes from a different direction, they're not actually engineered to deal with it. Seeing the local council here taking a lot more large trees out of the public spaces, and I think this is a preemptive response to potential damage, but it's pretty clumsy. I should mention too, I have again written to a number of local councils asking them if they have a biodiversity policy that I could look at, and then if they could tell me how their biodiversity policy affects their public plantings and their replacements or removals of plants in public spaces. And I'm sure you won't be surprised to know that the response I have had, and admittedly it's the January period, but I did send out before Christmas, my response has been a big fat 0. So I don't think either they don't know what I'm talking about or they don't want to engage. But we'll just keep trying, keep going. Okay, waiting for an Odin update, and okay, I guess I should tell you what's coming up, shouldn't I? The interviews are starting to. Okay, here we go. Odin says, we get smashed by the westerlies here. The gum is the Eucalyptus viminalis, which would be the manna gum. So there we go. Very good. Odin, do you have koalas moving through since you've got a Eucalyptus viminalis in your garden? Do you get the koalas moving through on a regular basis? I know that whole 90 Mile Beach corridor is a really reliable place to hear koalas at night. A bit less regularly will you see them, but you'll certainly will hear them when they are courting. So be interested to know that. So, yeah, look, the interviews are now starting to book in now that people are back from their holiday time. So we have a few lined up for February. I'm hoping to fill up February, so there'll be a lot more bird emergency interviews happening. Bit more challenging to get the horticulturists talking habitat gardening. I don't know why that is, but I'll just keep casting the net wide, and we'll see what we can get happening. Let me just tell you what. I'll just tell you who's booked for February. I've only got. I think there's only one I can really. Here we go. Sorry, doing things on the fly, and it's taking. Again, I've got very fast internet but very slow computer. Annie, well, if you subscribe to the Bird Emergency, they pop up often. I do. We do habitat gardening in this time slot every week, so you'll always find that happening. In the Bird Emergency stuff, it just depends when the guests are available. And let me just have a look. And so I fit in with them. Let me have a look here. So I'm speaking to Adrian Tomlinson on where are we? 27th of Feb. That's going to be at 11:30 in the morning, Australian time, or Australian Eastern time. Adrian is in Central Australia. He's working on desert ecosystems, invasives in pastoral land in inland Australia, particularly the buffel grass. We'll be talking about degradation of waterways because of the way cattle come down to feed at creeks and billabongs. How many of the sort of savanna habitat trees have become replaced by plants that the settlers use, like the peppercorn tree. So yes, there'll be a lot of conversations about that. Also, pesticide use and how that affects the indigenous, the native plants, and talking about the positive work that Adrian is involved in. So that will be that's the only one that is actually booked in, locked in, solid. So that's 11:30 on the 27th of February. So I better start creating all the info for that. So yes. So that's the kind of stuff we talk about, Annie. If you go back through my archive, you'll find there's a lot of American folk and Canadian, less Canadian folk, but quite a lot. My big push for this year is I am trying to speak to people from all the other countries in the world that are not the US, Australia, Canada, or the UK. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not going to be talking to people from those aforementioned countries, but I'm going to make a big effort to try and find English speakers who are working on conservation projects in all the other parts of the world, because the initial reason for doing the Bird Emergency was to promote the work that people were doing and the birds that are often very unknown that need assistance. So that's the plan. So hopefully there'll be a lot more unusual times for going live, because people will be in all sorts of different time zones. But that is my aim for this year, as well as to actually grow. If you're not subscribed, please make sure you do subscribe, because until I get to a certain number of subscribers, there are some things I cannot do on the channel. So if you do subscribe and you put the notifications on for all, you will then get notified when we're about to go live and when I schedule a show, and you hopefully won't miss it. And yeah, I would be interested. You said you discovered the Bird Emergency recently. Did you discover the Bird Emergency on YouTube, or did you discover the podcast? I would be very interested to know that. Now, Odin did tell us about koalas, more about koalas, because I was talking about hearing the koalas. Unfortunately, not hearing them recently. Did hear a big male calling just before Christmas. Well, that's when they're out and about. First you've heard there in 15 years of living there. So there's two things sort of to talk about that. Why are you only hearing them in the 15 now in 15 years? It might be because their habitat is being destroyed elsewhere, and they will move into town if there are suitable trees like the Eucalyptus viminalis, so really important koala food tree. I suspect that's probably the reason that they're being displaced from somewhere else. But the other reason could be that the population is increasing and they are naturally dispersing to find new territories. I hope the second is true and not the first, but I do suspect that it is going to be the first issue. Odin, if you're a big bird nerd, tell me your house patch highlights. Seen anything unusual recently? Are you getting the koel? What are we calling it? The Pacific koel or the Indian koel calling? The kui bird? Are you hearing them? Although they'd be almost getting ready to head off again now, but that would be the interesting thing. Also, Naomi, did you hear them? If you're still here, as always, if you have a suggestion for someone that I should reach out to and try and speak with, either for habitat gardening ideas or the bird emergency ideas, hit me up on Blue Sky and tell me about it, or send me an email and tell me about it. Grant@thebirdemergency.com is the email address. You'll find the Blue Sky, thebirdemergency.com/Blue Sky will take you to the Bird Emergency at Blue Sky. You're already here on YouTube, so just make sure that you are subscribed. What do we all do? Subscribe, ring the bell. Got to get in on the YouTuber stuff. Well, Annie's favourite bird in. I'm assuming your favourite bird in your home patch, the little chickadee. Now, I didn't mention it when I said you probably have them. Now let's see. Is a chickadee a tit? Let me find out. Yes. Well, I'm surprised I actually knew that. The chickadee is a member of the Paridae family, which includes tits and titmice. So there we are. And let me check out the little chickadee. So there we are. I'm surprised I actually knew that. Yeah, I'm geez, little chickadee bird. Oh, I don't think there is actually a little chickadee. Chickadees are little. Maybe it's the black-tipped a black-capped chickadee. It looks like that's the only chickadee I'm seeing, the black-capped chickadee. So that must be the one. There we are, the black-capped chickadee. Although there are 50 different types of chickadee. Oh my goodness. Carolina. There is a Carolina chickadee. I'm now on Audubon looking out to see chestnut back chickadee, black cap chickadee. The black cap chickadee seems to be the common one. Mountain chickadee, Carolina chickadee. If you live in the American South, Delaware, or Maryland, you've got Carolina chickadees. But it could be you've got Carolina and black capped, and they get confused. Okay. All right, that's interesting. All right, let's get back. So we got the chickadee. Annie has titmouse as well. Odin says there's so much habitat destruction and housing development. So you've got the immature male coel hanging around this year. There we go. Yeah, they're going to become very regular parts of the southern Australian summer. I think that that mournful call. So yes, I'm thinking yes, it is the black-capped chickadee. From Annie Naomi, I reckon you should talk to Kim Warmold, Lira if you can. Super involved in conservation, hugely against duck hunting. Oh my God, South Australia has reintroduced duck hunting this year. Labor bloody government. So let me look up now that we've done chickadees. Okay, I'm just saying what. Oh, here we go. Totally flown under my radar, Naomi. Thank you for that suggestion. I have the site up now. Oh well, Little Desert, yeah, okay, because we've had those fires. I mean, sadly, these are going to be things that we are reporting more and more. Yeah, I like the site. Thank you for the suggestion, Naomi. I will certainly discuss that. Fires at Little Desert. Yeah, I'm going to shoot off an email to Simon Vernon about whether the population of Mallee emu wrens that he was studying have been impacted by those fires. I mean, this is exactly the situation that his project was attempting to guard against, translocating the parts of an isolated population into a different area to protect against exactly what has just happened. So I will be following up with Simon and hopefully I can get him back on the show and we can talk about that. And he's got black-capped and Carolina chickadees. So I'm glad I was able to pop that in. Odin's birds, red and little wattlebirds, rainbow lorikeets, eastern rosella, Australian king parrot. Odin, being a good bird nerd, have you had this summer the yellow yellow-faced honeyeater? Have you had the crescent honeyeater as summer migrants? I'm going to test your bird nerdiness. Just to let you know, I used to be up the coast, 90 Mile Beach, Sea Spray, Locksport, that area, and our summer visitors would be the crescent honeyeater and the yellow-faced honeyeater. That's good. Well, we're getting some good information today. Yeah, Naomi, thank you very much for that suggestion. I will. The magical mystery of birds. Oh, and hopefully we'll have Ricky Coughlin on the show again too soon. It's a shame with scheduling we haven't been able to do our regular. So we'll see what we'll do this this year. It's always a good time to take stock. Gee, that's a nice shot of the mistletoe bird on the liralira.com site from Kim Wormold. That's a ripper from the Rufus Whistler as well. Again, Little Desert. Gee, so many of those shots are the Little Desert. It's devastating. But what we also need to bear in mind is that my particular worry with the Little Desert fire is for the Mallee emu wren, because they cannot move far, so they can be wiped out. But remember that fire in the Australian landscape, particularly in a Mallee area, is a tool of renewal. So most of the animals have an opportunity to leave a fire area temporarily and then come back as it reestablishes. But there will be many animals that haven't. So the next couple of years we'll see how the little birds, the fairy wrens, the emu wrens have survived, and some of the other smaller birds that can't travel that far, and of course the lizards, rodents, marsupials that are unable to escape. But fire is a regular part of the landscape. We always need to bear that in mind when we're talking about the losses. To lose the nature lodge at Little Desert Nature Lodge is on a human and a human scale is really disappointing, because that's a place where so many people have been able to enjoy that experience of that habitat. But the animals will be okay in general, but those isolated populations of birds that cannot escape, I'm really concerned about. So we will follow up on the Mallee emu wren. Odin, lots of yellow-faced honeyeaters at my partner's place in Pioneer Bay. Pioneer Bay is a great place. Unfortunately, haven't seen or heard a crescent here in years. Well, hopefully you get them back. Sometimes I wonder whether just the urbanisation means that some of the other species like the New Holland honeyeater, they become so prolific that they don't allow space for the seasonal migrants like the crescent honeyeater to come down. I haven't seen a crescent honeyeater in Melbourne for probably well on 10 years now. So I'm sure they're still arriving in parts of Melbourne, but I'm not having it here. Annie, it's been a pleasure to internet meet you, to YouTube meet you. I hope we do see you in the chat again. We can all learn a bit about what's going on at your place, and perhaps I might. Let's just see what happens in the next couple of weeks. I really look forward to knowing more about what's going on in the Carolinas and on the edge of the Appalachians. Be really, really good to catch up with you again. Enjoy your weekend, since it is late Friday night there. Uru, thank you for popping in. Please do make sure you're subscribed. All right. Well, that's a pretty good time to perhaps wrap it up. I'm getting a sore throat now. 2 hours. I didn't think we would be cracking on for that long. Annie, terrific ripper. Look forward to catching up with you. Maybe Annie will have to get used to all the Australian idiom that I throw in, like ripper, bonza, struth, beauty. Odin, nice to see you there, mate. And another newbie. That's good. 2 newbies, but no Betty. I'm disappointed that I haven't caught up with Betty. I'll have to reach out to her on Facebook and encourage her to come over to the YouTubes. So just wrapping up, Stan should be out watering the garden, but yes, Stan will talk about moderation and particularly if we get trolls. Maybe you might be interested in modding on the semi-political channel, which maybe I'll just call it Grant's Rant, or maybe it'd just be, oh my God, here we go. I don't know. Oh, Naomi, thanks. Yeah, the throat's okay. It's just I've been talking for so long, and I didn't do my warm-up exercises for the throat today. So that's something you're always supposed to do, isn't it? Warm up your throat. But anyway, I didn't today. Didn't warm up my voice. Good to see you. As always, Naomi, thank you for your input, your conversation. Murray, nice to see you again too. It's been a while. Odin, definitely happy to see you. Always good to see another horticulturist and bird nerd in the community. Yeah, let's let's grow. Do follow Kangaroo Island TV. That's Stan's channel. If you want to, if you're interested in the EV scene, electric vehicle scene, and want to know more about parts of Australia that are quite different to Melbourne, Stan's channel is a good place to check out. Odin says, really looking forward to Grant's Rants. Yeah. Yeah, I figure that's probably the a good title for it, because I'll tell you what happens at my place. I wake up at 4 a.m. and listen to the Majority Report, and then I check out a lot of the news from the UK and the US and Canada, if it's applicable, before I even start looking at the Australian news, which generally doesn't get updated until around 5 or 6 a.m. And it's never good news. And try as I might, I've bookmarked a whole heap of good environmental news, which maybe we might do a bird emergency tomorrow talking about some positive environmental stories, but gee, most of them are just bad. Most of them are bad, which is not fun. All right, well, that's it. Do follow the birdemergency.com/blue sky, and here on YouTube, do make sure that you hit that subscribe button and put notifications on for all so that you do get what's coming up. And I will let you know where the Grants Rants are going to happen. I think we'll just do a Grants Rants channel. I think that will be the go. All right, everyone. Have a safe weekend. For those of you hitting or doing outside stuff, heatwave stuff in parts of Australia, put on your sunscreen. Make sure you wear a hat. And imbibe adequate water, fluoridated or not. Cheers, folks.